I had a Sunday night call in my backyard in Rhode Island, FaceTime with Grant Cardone. Didn't know who he was, no idea at all. I'm back there with AJ, my son, and on a FaceTime call with this guy, and he goes, Dad, I know who this is. Okay, so AJ's 13 now. This is back then, all those years ago, and I got off the call, and I'm like, AJ, how'd you know who this guy is? I'm like, Dad, just met him. He goes, I saw him on Dude Perfect.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Dawson Show, where I interview entrepreneurs, business owners, thought leaders that are changing industries, growing their business, making things happen. So today I want to introduce my buddy Scott. Scott, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody on the show what you do?
Well, honored to be here. Dr. Scott Colonna, really blessed to be here on the Dawson Show. And, you know, I've been practicing optometry for 21 years. One business partner, Dr. John Armando, and it's been such a blessing to be in the field. It's given so much to my wife, my kids, and so many of our coworkers that have been with us. We started with just 7 employees, and now we're up to 76. So
Wow.
We've really been blessed by the profession and really looking forward to the future of optometry.
So you started your own, basically, eye practice, and you have a partner in that business.
Yes.
And you guys started growing that business and being what I call kind of a micro market category killer. You started kind of controlling and owning your marketplace. What was the biggest thing that you saw that you needed in order to rapidly grow and scale that and multiply it across the country?
You know, the biggest thing I would say that really started to turn around for us was the opportunity to start learning how to run a business. We didn't get much of that education in graduate school when we were training to be the best eye doctor we could. A lot of it was science-based and patient-based, which it should be. But the opportunity to understand how to take a business and really set it up as an investment to provide for the employees and give back to them, the patients, and to ourselves as the owner was really what kind of set that off for us in the beginning.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you know my experience in the hearing care space, the dental space, the chiropractic, regenerative medicine. I've been around the eye space. I've been around, the ENTs, allergy. You name it. I've been around it. And what you said is so true, and that is those business owners became business owners because of their passion for what they do. And you've sat through a lot of my programs, and you see when I talk about where businesses break or where they break through. And so what's been your experience as a passionate doctor that cares about eyes and then trying to pivot to also being like a remarkable business owner?
Yeah. I'll say for us, the Breakpoints is spot on. We've been stuck in this Breakpoint, we'll call it, $8 to $10 million range for about 5 years, and we just couldn't get through it. And the reason why we couldn't get through it is because we didn't know what we didn't know. And that's why, John and I found you, and we were following you and what you did with Audigy. And me growing up in New York City, I've always had a passion about being on the stock market and see who rings the bell and so forth. So when you partnered with Grant, we knew it was like, okay, now it's game on, So it really helped us understand about what do we have to do and start to help to develop ourselves as better leaders. And you've done an amazing job, with that as a mentor to me. And having, John Maxwell this week was an incredible opportunity to learn from him also. And so as leaders, we have to continue to develop and grow. But then how do we create an environment of development of our coworkers so that they have a win-win situation?
And so as you started going through the programs and working with me, all of a sudden you're realizing, oh, here's the missing pieces. Here's what's kept us at 8 to 10 million, which is Breakpoint Breakpoint 3 to Breakpoint 4, kind of stuck in that. Breakpoint 1's 100,000 to 3 million, then 3 million to 8 million, and then 8 million to 15 million.
Yeah.
So you've been at the top end. I always tell people the hardest place to be in business is the top end of those breakpoints. So you're at the top end and you're trying to stretch to get into Breakpoint 3 effectively. And the complexity of Breakpoint 3 is entirely different than the complexity of Breakpoint 2. So when you were sitting the first time in my class and I was walking through this, were you like, oh my gosh, this is everything that we've been struggling with for God knows how long?
Yeah. It felt like you lived in our house, and you could hear me and Terry talking about it at nighttime. You know, Terry's in the same field. So like I said, it's been a blessing to our family, and they hear about everything about work and what we're trying to do, and a very growth-minded family as we are at work. And when you were there, I was like, oh my God, I feel like you'd bug the house, you know, because you knew everything spot on that, you know, I had been thinking personally, that John and I were discussing, and it was like, okay, if you knew that, and I know where you've been, because I know I want to follow people that have been where I'm going, you know, and that's the biggest aspect. And how do we start to develop that for other providers in our industry is really the key.
And that's actually an additional piece to your path to success, because you've been able to grow a very sizable business. And so you started another business to help coach other independent business owners to be able to get to where you're at. So talk a little bit about that business.
So after we 10x'd our first practice and it made it the top largest non-surgical optometric office, one location in the country, we really started to get a lot of calls from other doctors that were asking for, how'd you do this? How'd you do this? And, you know, it was such an amazing thing to be able to be passionate about and then share it with other doctors to help them kind of learn what we did, the mistakes we did, and try to help them avoid it early on. Because those first 3 years of business, you're sitting there like we didn't even pay ourselves the first couple of months, you know. So in 2017 we started Uppercut Consulting and Coaching, and it started to help the private practitioners understand the business side of things. You know, I was very blessed to grow up in New York City. My dad was in finance and business, and he gave me an amazing background in numbers. And he passed away a couple of years ago, and I feel this passion that he's passed on to me to leave me better, to help other people and leave them in a better situation. So that's what we started to do, and we even launched a little academy with a virtual training platform to start to develop employees and so forth. So we have some pieces in place to be able to help the provider really gain their true worth and give back to their employees too and their patients.
Yeah, so then all of a sudden, you and I'm looking at what you were doing there, and you saw what I did in Audigy and these other industries, and you're like, there's a massive opportunity to create a movement. And so one of the things that you and I are doing right now is collaborating to form a management company like we did in all these other industries, so that we can officially roll out a support mechanism that can create massive value quickly if you're in your industry. And talk a little bit about how excited you are about that.
Well, I am so pumped. I mean, I've been more excited for this than I've been probably in about 5 years. I mean, to be partnering with you and Grant and your team, the team has been amazing so far. And as we go through this process, I realized that the sky is really the limit to be able to go back to empower the providers, the eye care providers, and really teach them and give them the tools to accomplish their dreams. Because being a business owner is an amazing, rewarding thing, as you know. And what you did in your space with Audigy, you know, we are looking to just align ourselves and learn from what you did so that we could take eye care and give that same opportunity back to those providers. And I think it will really change eye care and health care for the complete future, because eye care and health care is really an opportunity right now for us to make a difference and impact patients' lives as well as the workers on our teams.
So I have a friend in Germany. He's one of my dearest friends. And his family is the largest independent hearing care provider in the world.
Wow.
That's how significant they are. And they are the dominant player. And he, about 6 years ago, started opening brand new hearing offices where he combined it with optical offices. And now he's up to several hundred optical locations. And the innovation that he and the technology and the equipment he was using was mind-boggling. When I came in, I'm like, wow, this is so well set up.
Yeah.
When you think about the opportunity to create a national or a North American group, all working together, not only on the professional level, but on the business level, so that we can create thousands of consistently run, high valued, high deliverable, high patient centric quality locations that create significant net worth. Because you and I know there's been some big valuations paid for buying groups and other things in your space. But for some reason that never trickles down to the independent business owner, which is why I created the model I did, because of the frustration that on the backs of so many hardworking people, they don't get the benefit of this huge, massive value that's created all around them because of them in most cases. And they don't get that.
Yeah.
So you and I, if you're in the I space, and you're sitting there going, I feel like I'm crushing it, or I'm trying to crush it, or I'm trying to create value, understand that you can multiply not only your impact, but the value you derive from that impact by collaborating with people who can assist you in not only doing it professionally, the professional aspect, but helping you find, attract, align, develop, and retain remarkable people by having a big enough picture. And that's what John Maxwell was talking about. The bigger your picture, the more capacity there is for people to join you.
Yeah.
So how eye-opening was that conversation, listening to, because John and I have been working together for 11 years in multiple businesses. How eye-opening was that to you?
It was mind-blowing, actually, to talk about, what is available out there, and to really gain the true worth when you work together. Like you said, and John said about collaboration is the key to the future, It's basically the new economy of where we're trying to go. And you could keep doing the same stuff and get stuff, stuck in the day-to-day grind of things. But when you have this big vision of really what's out there, and like you said about really giving back to the providers and the owners that opportunity, because there's some people out there in this space that are pretending to do this. But as we know, they are not truly caring and giving back the lion's share to the providers. And that's what we're really passionate about. So the bigger picture and thinking about how do we align ourselves and really be working together to revolutionize the industry and also help the business owners be part of that and give back in a major way.
So look, if you're in the I space and you're thinking, this sounds interesting, I want to be a part of something that's going to be massive. I promise you, the 10X movement we're going to have in this space, because we already have hundreds and hundreds of independent I people coming through our system. Excellent. They're part of our 10X global community. So if you're sitting there by yourself, maybe this is the first time you're watching this show or listening to it on iTunes or YouTube, you might be saying, wow, how do I become a part of that? What I would tell you is that people become a part of our ecosystem when they get involved with our ecosystem.
Absolutely.
Those that don't know you can't flow you. So what you want to do, and that's a direct quote from my business partner, Grant Cardone, what you want to do is be known.
Absolutely.
How did you become known to us?
So I first met Grant back in 2016. I was on the side for a retirement part of things, running a small private REIT in real estate that I was running. Terry was helping me on the side. And I started to look at some different players in the industry, and someone said, you got to talk to this guy, Grant Cardone. He is going to be a major player in the real estate industry. So at the time, this is before Cardone Capital actually existed. I had a Sunday night call in my backyard in Rhode Island, FaceTime with Grant Cardone. Didn't know who he was, no idea at all. I'm back there with AJ, my son, and on a FaceTime call with this guy, and he goes, Dad, I know who this is. Okay, so AJ's 13 now. This is back then, all those years ago, and I got off the call, and I'm like, AJ, how'd you know who this guy is? I'm like, Dad just met him. He goes, I saw him on Dude Perfect. I'm like, you know who Grant Cardone is? He goes, yeah, Dad. He's talking about helping people and kids in business. I knew when AJ said that to me after my call with Grant on a Sunday night, one-on-one on FaceTime, that I needed to partner with him. So I invested in one of his first deals in real estate before it was Cardone Capital. And now I've invested 7 more times. Wow. And he introduced me to you when you went to that 10X. And I was like, okay, went back. You were doing your due diligence. I was doing my due diligence on you. And then I saw Audigy pop up, and I'm like, okay, now we're aligning. And I see where this whole plan is evolving. And sometimes you don't know where it's going. But I've been very blessed to be with Grant and get into the ecosystem. And I've done all your programs to this point with 10X 360 and platforming and working with the team on the SBU. And it's been an amazing experience because we have goals of ourselves to take things, further.
What's it like to actually have a business plan that shows you can get how big does your platform say you can become?
So just in our practice space, that one is going to approach $115 million.
So look, people, here's the thing, the complexity. Most people build their business from the ground up, so they keep stacking on top of it. And they think about in terms of growth of, I want to do better than I did before, or I want to do at least as well as I did before, or I just want to pick this arbitrary random number and try to get there. That's not science. Science is engineering. You would never construct a 100-story building stacking one story on top of the next story when you find the money or when you have the time, or should you provide or be able to find people that could help you. Right. Like you would engineer the building, right, and then you would build to 100. Mm-hmm. And yet what you learn in this process is that you're stacking. And when you stack, you're susceptible to cracks and weaknesses in the foundation, and the higher you stack, the crumbling effect. And once it starts crumbling, my experience is, and for people listening, look, there's 31.5 million small to mid-sized businesses in the United States. 25 million have a single employee because they're so fearful of stacking because they intuitively know they don't know what they're doing, or they're fearful. And then you basically have 6 million businesses that have greater than 2 employees. And so as you get up to more employees, that percentage goes down to like 1.5% once you get over 12. Mm-hmm. So look, it's obvious it's hard to build a business as you start stacking. And the first stacking you do in business is people. Yeah. And if you have randomizing going on while you're stacking, you have confusion. Where there's confusion, there's failure, even structural failure. So the people watching this show, let me just assure you, we've engineered his business. Mm-hmm. So he knows exactly what's available within your marketplace, and then your expansion areas. How big does your business plan take you out to?
So our expansion plan with everything, including our Mandalay Optical Lab, is we're approaching $200 million in each one.
So imagine all of a sudden you're working so hard, you're stuck at 8 to 10 million. You're just bouncing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. All of a sudden you have a clear, concise plan with every single action step that you need. Then you hire us, basically, or you partner with us, and now you have a 5-person team: marketing, operations, finance, human resources, professional development, all our technology mapped to your strategy. And now it's about just moving forward and developing a rich team who wants to share in that success with you. What is that compared to what you've been dealing with your whole career trying to build and stack? Yeah. What does that feel like when all of a sudden every conversation is about moving towards the increment of 100 million, 200 million?
Yeah. I mean, it turns around what you do. For years, being in practice and seeing patients, and it was draining. It was draining. And, the 70, 80-hour work weeks, still a blessing and still amazing. And, for John and I, we pulled ourselves out of patient care on a daily basis at 42 years old, and we were the youngest in our industry. People were like, wait, you want to practice and you're not seeing patients and you're making money? They didn't get that. But now, as we look at it and say, how can we get to these bigger goals and make a huge impact throughout the United States on all eye care providers, we have a plan based on data. We never had that. And it allows me to sleep, like for about 6 hours now. So I could peacefully know when I wake up the next day, what am I working on? As opposed to being a fireman and just putting out fires every day. And one is draining and makes you stop looking, down the road at exciting things, and it prevents you becoming truly impactful and making a difference in this world and building a legacy. Where now we're talking about legacy. Now we're talking about making a difference, and it's huge for us. And you start to become influential in the community because, we have kids following me asking me, wow, I never thought eye care could be that way. And the technology that's available to us, as your team knows, we could reach patients anywhere now. So there's lots of opportunity to make a huge difference, and it's amazing. I'm more excited than I've ever been in 21 years.
Well, and I can tell you when you have that enthusiasm, people when they tell me, "Oh, I'm getting drunk," I feel like I'm getting tired, and I feel like I'm just emotionally broke. It's because they're not enthusiastic and excited about the future. They're overwhelmed with the moment. So look, if you're listening to the B. Dawson Show, we're talking about eye care, and I am here to commit with my partner And we are here to commit, we are here to commit that we are going to create one of the largest organizations in North America, maybe the rest of the world. We'll see how ambitious we are. But I, for one, already know what the future looks like when I start to get to work with remarkable people like you guys. And so I'm very excited to take it to the next level with you. And I know we'll be making some big announcements at GrowthCon about what those plans look like.
Yeah,
so
I cannot wait. Really, I appreciate it. Very honored and blessed to be part of the team.
Yeah, thanks for being on the B. Dawson Show. So if you're listening to the B. Dawson Show, you know that I interview unbelievably successful business owners, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, people who are making it happen and wanting to make it happen 10x bigger than it is today. If you're one of those people and you're listening to this show and you're like, hey, I'm in this industry or that industry, or what about this or what about that? Collaboration's a new currency. The only way to find out if we can help you and collaborate with you is to get involved. Become a future partner of ours by making the first decision to show up. Just go there, check it out, be on the homepage, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of The B. Dawson Show.